This is segment 1 of 283. Please review the content below, adjusted logically for an American audience while preserving the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. I spent 7 years inside and did well enough to earn a sentence reduction. On the day I got out, I got my phone back and received several calls from unfamiliar numbers. They were all former bosses I'd worked with trying to lure me back, some offering monthly salaries of 100,000 or even 200,000 yuan, plus a car. Most calls came from Panjiayuan in Beijing and Shenyang Road in Tianjin. After thinking it over, I turned them all down. I realized I got into this line of work by mistake. Though I made quite a bit of money, I paid a price. 7 years passed, and I went from a fair-skinned young guy to a 30-something with a big belly. The girls from back then all have kids in school now. I was alone, and in the end, I chose to go to Dali. I bought a small shop by Arai Lake and opened a convenience store. When business is slow, I take walks by the lake and feel the sea breeze. Life is pretty laid back. The store is on Sangshan East Road, near Lamart. If you ever come by, I'll buy you tea. Recently, the discovery of the ancient Shu civilization made headlines, unveiling a golden mask that shocked the nation. Speaking of which, my path to fortune was closely tied to antiques and tomb raiding. A few years back, shows like Ghost Blows Out the Light, The Lost Tomb, and Golden Eyes were huge hits. Now with more free time, I'm writing about those old days. I never saw the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace or the Qinling Divine Tree, nor do I have golden eyes, but I started dealing antiques at 16 and witnessed things most people don't understand. Let me begin. I come from a remote village in northeast China, near Mo, where winters are deadly cold. My grandmother raised me. I never knew my parents and never cared to. As a kid, I was really naughty, didn't listen to teachers and had poor grades, always at the bottom. Thanks to national poverty relief, my family got government assistance, over 80 yuan a month in subsistence aid plus more than 100 yuan in orphan subsidies. Life was rough. Back then, TV was full of treasure hunting shows, and I was hooked. Experts said those overlooked jars and bottles were antiques worth big money, enough to buy a house or car. I lied to my grandma, claiming the school needed study materials. She gave me money, and I bought antique books instead. The first book I read was 50 Famous Ancient Coins, a thick volume that opened my eyes. I became obsessed, combing through every nook, even persuading classmates to sell me their copper coins for 50 cents apiece. I scrimped and saved, skipping meals and even sold my textbooks for cash. Teachers sighed, saying I was doomed and would only become a social burden. But I didn't care. I dreamed of making it big. Even if I'd be a toxic element, at least I'd be a wealthy one. At 18, my grandma broke her leg shoveling snow. Surgery cost over 3,000 yuan, but the family didn't even have 600 yuan. Grandma cried on the heated bed, and I borrowed money from my aunt's family. Although I didn't say it aloud, I overheard my uncle call me a jinx, blame my poverty, and tell my aunt to cut ties. That winter, I sat alone on a rock for 3 hours, no matter how thick my clothes, minus 30 degrees Celsius in Mohanumni. My relatives' words shattered my pride. Clutching the borrowed cash, I vowed, Xiang Yinfeng, am going to make something of myself. I dropped out of school, never got even a middle school diploma. After paying for surgery, I had only 753 yuan left, which I secretly kept. With that money, I bought not only copper coins but also porcelain and silver dollars from nearby villages. Rural folks only recognized silver dollars, not jars or bowls. I read books and watched antique appraisal shows daily and gradually developed a basic eye for value. I spent 100 yuan on a pair of late Qing blue chicken feather dusters, less than 200 yuan on a few Republic-era pastel lady salt jars, and 180 yuan on 3 Qing-era mid-period blue and white bowls. Unfortunately, those bowls had chicken claw cracks and were poorly preserved, with visible fissures. I also collected a small sack of about 200 copper coins, mostly Song and Qing dynasty pieces from Daoguang, Guangxu, Qianlong, Huangsong, and Yuanfeng reigns. These coins were plentiful but not very valuable. My favorite was 3 well-preserved Yongzheng copper coins. I knew they were worth something but didn't know the exact market prices. After spending over 500 yuan, I had 240 yuan left. Back then, the average monthly salary was just over 300 yuan. A female classmate, who I was close to, lent me 2 large 30-inch rolling suitcases. Altogether, there were 11 ceramic pieces and a small bag of copper coins, all wrapped tightly in blankets and cushioned with lots of foam to avoid damage. The items filled 2 big suitcases and a backpack. Grandma didn't understand me. She said I was lazy and cursed me for wasting her effort raising me. Aunt also found out, and villagers whispered and pointed fingers behind my back. Faced with disdain and scorn, I felt crushed. On the 17th of the 12th lunar month, I left Mon with all my belongings. I believed Beijing had the richest people and that my antiques would fetch a good price. Besides, I had long dreamed of the legendary Panjiayuan flea market. There was no direct train from Mo to Beijing, so I had to take a train to Siping first, then transfer to the Beijing West Station. The whole trip was over 2,000 kilometers and took more than 50 hours. To save money, I chose the cheapest hard-seat tickets. I was carrying 2 big suitcases, wearing plain clothes and a big backpack, my hair greasy. People at the station were whispering and pointing fingers. This was my first time traveling far from home, my first time on a train, and I was alone. After buying the ticket, I had less than 100 yuan left. If I couldn't sell my stuff, I wouldn't even be able to afford a return ticket, let alone food. The food on the train was ridiculously expensive, so I didn't dare spend money recklessly. I just kept filling my travel cup with hot water. When I was starving, I bought a bag of fried dough twists for 2.5 yuan. For a kid from the countryside, everything in Beijing was new and fresh. It was my first time seeing a security scanner too. I wasn't shy around strangers and boldly asked someone how to get to Panjiayuan Antique Market. The ticket clerk was really helpful, explaining the subway and transfer routes. From Beijing West Station, take Line 9 to Lilikio, then transfer to Line 10, and get off at Panjiayuan Station. My memory was pretty good, and I didn't take many wrong turns. Back then, subway fares were only 2 yuan, and as long as you kept exiting and entering, no one cared. After getting out of the subway, I walked on the sidewalk, which was full of anti-slip pits. Carrying my backpack and dragging 2 big suitcases, it was really tough. After crossing Huawei Bridge, I finally saw the golden plaque outside the North Gate, Panjiayuan Used Goods Market. Finally here. I dragged my suitcases through the North Gate into the market and first saw the huge tent area packed with people. It happened to be Saturday, very lively. There was all kinds of stuff for sale here: Bodhi seeds, beeswax turquoise, porcelain knickknacks, jade and jewelry, copper ware and weapons, stone carvings, rubbings, embroidery, and paintings. It was overwhelming. But most of it was fake. Authentic antiques were very rare. I thought, this market is full of fakes, but my stuff is old treasures I collected myself. I should be able to sell them quickly. Seeing an empty spot in one of the tents, I was about to set up shop. What are you doing? The bald stall owner beside me blocked my way. I want to set up a stall. He snarled, set up a stall? Is this your stall? Get lost, kid. I pushed back, I want to set up a stall. Is this your spot? I'll pay you. How much? The bald guy blinked and smiled. 100 yuan. Pay 100 and you can set up. I frowned. That expensive? He squinted. That's the price. If you don't pay, get lost. Don't block my business. I had less than 100 yuan on me, gritted my teeth, and bargained him down to 90. Now I was left with only 3 yuan. He took the money and just kept smiling. Just as I was laying out my stuff, the market's loudspeaker went off. Dear travelers and merchants, Panjiayuan Market is now closing. Please secure your belongings and exit in an orderly fashion. Wish you a pleasant shopping experience and prosperous business. Once the announcement played, all the other stall owners started packing up. I was stunned. I hadn't even finished setting up. Angry, I shouted at the bald man, "Give me my money back. The market's closing. I haven't even started selling." He spat and sneered, "Once you spread out your stuff, you've set up. No refunds." I got furious and grabbed his arm, refusing to let go. "Go to hell, brat." He kicked me in the stomach so hard I doubled over, unable to straighten up. Everyone around left, including the bald guy who kicked me. Though Beijing winters aren't as cold as Mo, the nights still cut through you. A market security guard, holding a big dog, hurried me along. There'd be fines if I overstayed. It was dark by then as I dragged my suitcases out of the market. Cold and hungry, with only 3 yuan left. I sat on a bench by the road for half an hour and learned there was an internet cafe 2 kilometers away near Huawei Bridge West. I hauled my suitcases there, only to find out the minimum overnight fee was 10 yuan. I had no money, staying there was impossible. The cold outside was unbearable, so I slipped into an ATM bank. People coming to withdraw money stared at me strangely. The floor was icy cold. I curled up uncomfortably by the wall, put on my hat, but couldn't fall asleep. After a couple of hours, half awake, someone shook me. A woman in her 50s, holding a little white dog, said, "It's so cold, why are you sleeping here?" She gave me 2 warm sesame buns and shook her head before leaving. Starving, my stomach growled. I took the buns and ate. They were crispy and delicious. Tears streamed down as I ate. Is this really how I give up? Won't my family look down on me even more? I kept encouraging myself. "Xiang Yinfeng, you will make it." The next morning at 8, I was back at Panjiayuan. Since I couldn't afford a stall fee, I just dragged my suitcases around. Spotting people looking at porcelain, I went over. Hey, big brother, want to see my porcelain? All old stuff, good prices. At that moment the broadcast played again. Tourists, beware of dishonest sellers. Keep an eye on your belongings to avoid scams. As soon as the announcement came on, people's expressions changed and they scattered. I asked several people, but everyone thought I was a scammer or some kind of crook. With a why not give it a try attitude, I walked into an antique shop and asked the owner if he bought porcelain. The owner responded coolly, "What do you have? Let me see." I happily opened my rolling suitcase. He glanced inside, picked out a pair of late Qing dynasty blue and white ginger jars, and asked, "These aren't great. How much do you want for these jars?" I cautiously said, "Late Qing, 2 for 800 yuan, is that okay?" He widened his eyes. "What? 800? At most 150. Deal or not?" My heart sank halfway. I traveled more than 2,000 kilometers by train from the mountains, freezing and starving along the way, and it was only worth 150? I was only making 50 yuan profit? My face flushed with anger as I packed up to leave. Seeing this, the owner quickly said, "Don't be hasty. I'll add 20 more. How about 170? I held back my anger, thinking the offer was reasonable, but I didn't want to sell cheap. "You keep your 20 bucks. Not in the mood to listen." I grabbed my suitcase and walked right out of the porcelain shop. I planned to set up a stall outside the market, but as I stepped outside, city inspectors were confiscating goods, seizing items from several counterfeit dealers. I was frightened and immediately abandoned the idea. But where there's a will, there's a way. Just when I was desperate, I met an old man who said, "Young man, Panjiayuan is crowded on the 6th, and stalls are expensive. Try Bayaguosi, I heard their stalls don't cost anything." Hearing this, I was thrilled and hurried with my suitcase to Bayaguosi near Guanganmen. The free stalls there were my last hope. Back then, Bayaguosi still had many street vendors mainly selling coins and porcelain shards. I'd heard Beijing's famous Pianbai porcelain spread from there. I just happened to have porcelain and copper coins, so the timing was perfect. I felt confident. I didn't believe old items wouldn't sell. Luck was on my side. I snagged an empty spot at the front of the stall and bought 2 chicken sausages for 3 yuan. As I ate, I thought, either starve here in Beijing or eat and drink well today, it all depends on this day. Unexpectedly, within 10 minutes of setting up, a crowd gathered. "Boss, how much for this Song and Qing dynasty coins?" "Boss, can I see that pastel-colored little salt jar?" "Boss, how much for those blue and white ginger jars?" "What's your lowest price?" I was busy keeping up and casually said, "Those jars, minimum 800 yuan. Deal, I'll take them." "How do I pay?" someone immediately said. Then another person shouted, "I'll pay 830. "Ma Lao San, isn't that unfair?" someone snapped. "Unfair? No money paid yet. Who sells to whom is up to the old man. Song boss, you know what your stuff's worth. Don't care what you sell it for." Song boss angrily slapped his thigh. The two almost came to blows. I quickly intervened, "Stop fighting. This salt jar is nicely painted, even though it's not marked." Song boss looked at me, "You said 800 to me earlier. Who did you end up selling to?" I thought, stuff no one wanted at Panjiayuan is being fought over here? Then I replied, "Big brother, I said 800 and will sell to you. I don't go back on my word." The man laughed and patted his belly proudly. "Good, little brother, you're straightforward. I'll take all these things in one go." I was stunned. Beijing bosses sure are generous. A nearby older woman smiled enviously. "Stop selling, pack up quickly and follow the boss to get paid." I hurriedly packed up and followed Song boss to his shop. He said the money included the suitcase. In the end, porcelain, coins, and the suitcase. Song boss gave me 4,700 yuan in cash. That was about what an ordinary person made in a year at the time. The big boss didn't hesitate, he even bought the rolling suitcase. I walked out of Bayaguosi empty-handed but feeling the thick stack of 100 yuan bills, grinning ear to ear. Standing on the Guanganmen Bridge, I waved the cash and shouted, "Heaven rewards those who persevere." I, Xiang Yinfeng, may have been a poor student, but I was born to do business. What's my uncle-in-law's farmhouse compared to that? I will become the most successful antique dealer in the country. People around shot me strange looks. It's been about 15 or 16 years now, and every time I think back, I can't help but laugh at how foolish I was. That trip earned me over 4,000 yuan. My pockets were fuller, my heart steadier. First, I went to fill my stomach, ate 2 big bowls of knife-cut noodles with some cold dishes, feeling completely satisfied. After eating, picking my teeth, I calculated in my heart, this path works. After paying uncle-in-law, I'll have enough as principal. Next time, collect more. 10 trips could make 40,000. That evening at West Station, a middle-aged woman persuaded me to stay at a small inn for 60 yuan. After settling in, the landlady quietly asked, "Young man, want a girl to keep you company?" I panicked and refused. "No thanks, don't bother me." She kept pestering, so in the end, I gave her 20 extra yuan to keep quiet. As the old saying goes, when you're away from home, don't flaunt your wealth. This is part 4 of 283. Please follow your logic in processing the content below. Keep the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout intact, and only return the processed result. I still remember it clearly. The innkeeper's wife was staring fixedly at the stack of red bills I had. That night, I was very tired and dozed off half-conscious. Worried about safety, I even pressed the plastic bag with the money under my pillow. When I woke up, the money was gone. The over 4,000 yuan I had worked so hard to earn had vanished. Where's the money? My money! I panicked, my face turning pale as I frantically searched the bedsheets and lifted the pillow. But there was no sign of the money, only a withered black plastic bag. I was terrified and immediately searched for the innkeeper's wife, asking her to check the security footage and saying I'd call the police. Of course, in the end, not a single dime of the money was recovered. Even now, I don't like those small inns near the train station. More than a decade has passed, that inn is probably gone. I can't say I still harbor resentment. If the money hadn't been stolen, I might be an antique shop owner now, married with kids, living a completely different life. But no one gets a second chance. If the money hadn't disappeared, I wouldn't have gotten the nickname Yinfeng in underground circles, and no one would know me. The police took a brief statement and hinted that the money wouldn't be found. Empty-handed, my heart was shattered. I didn't dare go back to Mo, didn't dare return home. I knew I'd be mocked, ridiculed by peers, even looked down upon by my elder uncle's family. I couldn't afford to lose face like that. I told people I earned over 4,000 yuan, but no one in the village believed me. Standing on the overpass outside West Station, in that instant, I almost jumped off. Nobody cared about me, nobody loved me. I was just an unwanted wild kid, better to die early and find relief. Youthful mind is immature, having thoughts like that is really dangerous. My legs were already dangling over the edge. Just then, someone patted my back. "Heh, young man, you're so young, what's there to be so despairing about?" I wiped my tears and turned around, stunned to see the old man who helped me find my way at Panjiayuan yesterday. He was the one who told me the Baogua temple stall didn't charge rent. "Kid, I've been watching you since you came to Panjiayuan selling things yesterday. Guess what, I bet your money was stolen, right?" The old man wore casual clothes, his temples streaked with white hair, but he looked energetic. Without thinking much, I nodded through my tears, admitting it, and told him my money was gone and I wanted to give up. He shook his head with a smile. "How much did you lose?" "Over 4,000 yuan. Heh," he smiled and held up a finger. 4,000? That's nothing. Work with me, and I guarantee you can make 20,000 in no time. I stared at that finger dumbfounded and asked, "How long? A year?" He shook his head. "A month? Still no. A week?" He laughed heartily, no longer joking. "A minute, as long as you're quick. Making a few thousand is a matter of minutes." I almost couldn't believe it. I thought he was a scammer, maybe selling kidneys or something, and I definitely wouldn't do that. If I wanted to die, fine, but living to sell a kidney would mean no kids and a wife cheating on me. He said one last thing before turning away. "Kid, if you want to live in style and drive a fancy car, come with me. Otherwise, don't bother, I think you chose the wrong person." To someone like me from a poor family, 4,000 yuan was a huge amount. To him it was just pocket change. That man turned out to be my master, who introduced me to tomb raiding. The way to wealth he spoke of was tomb robbing. Finding dragons requires scrutinizing the mountain's layers. Each layer represents a barrier. If the gate has 1,000 locks, a noble must dwell inside. From the moment I followed him down from that overpass, I officially entered the trade. Soon enough, I realized he was right. For him, a few thousand yuan was truly small change, something you could make in minutes. Have you heard of the 4 major tomb raiding sects? The gold-seeking cavalry, the mountain movers, the ridge lifters, and the grave generals? Actually, they've all faded away. Today, tomb raiding mainly splits into 2 factions, the northern and the southern, sometimes called the bold and the cautious. The northern faction is daring, wielding loyang shovels and unafraid to dig up any tomb, but water-filled caves pose huge challenges, especially in Hunan, Guizhou, and Zhejiang. After 1,000 wet years, these water-filled tombs demand great swimming skills, even scuba equipment, which they can barely handle. The southern faction typically relies on family lineages, fathers guiding sons, grandfathers with grandsons, and seldom mixes with outsiders. They're labeled cautious because they protect against betrayal. This world is full of all kinds, from masters who can recite burial classics backward at a glance to imposters who get caught first. The pros rarely get caught. Let me explain some roles within toon raiding groups. In a 6-person crew, the highest paid is the eye leader, who scouts the toons and handles technical tasks. Skilled eye leaders are highly sought after. Then there's the rice seller, the job title for the dealer who converts stolen goods into cash. This role demands strong networks and ensuring no one traces the merchandise. Lastly, the miner digs the tunnels and judges the toon's age by the soil layers brought out. Experience is crucial. Lookouts are responsible for vigilance and reconnaissance. They need keen eyes and ears, sometimes even hiding in the area a year in advance before taking action, mingling with locals to avoid exposure. Lastly, there's logistics, usually just one person handling equipment procurement. Everything is bought uniformly to prevent revealing identities. The gear includes rat suits, diamond shovels, small whirlwinds, gas masks, loyang shovels, fire sticks, waterproof flashlights, walkie-talkies, tents and bedding, pots and pans, toothbrushes, toothpaste. There's also a job called soil scattering. That was the task I started with. Soil scattering pays the least, but it's still much better than working for wages. The more ordinary you look, the better for this job. I was chosen precisely because of my plain face. I look average, no one bothers paying attention to me, no spare time for that. On the contrary, if you're too handsome or too ugly, you won't last. The soil might not even get scattered before you get noticed. You carry a little at a time, pretend to be out walking or walking a dog, quietly sprinkle the soil down your pant legs, leaving no trace. Afterwards, the money is quietly shared, and no one pays it any mind. The man who got me into this line was an old guy named Wang Xiansheng, nicknamed Boss Wang among insiders. He supposedly had touched over 1,000 large tombs, from the warring states, Han, Qin, to Ming and Qing dynasties. He'd basically seen it all. The crew favored 2 tombs most, a Han tomb and a Western Zhou one, because the bronzes and jade from those eras were valuable. But 9 times out of 10, the Han tombs were empty, no deception there. The Western Zhou tombs were more extraordinary. Back then, feudal lords were everywhere and extravagant burials were common. If you struck a big Western Zhou tomb filled with bronzes, the descendants would never have to worry about money. Western Zhou tombs were buried very deep. The earthen mounds only appeared after Qin Shi Huang's reign, so locating and digging them was tough. On the surface, trading bronzes was banned, but everyone knew the antique shows on TV were staged by people like us. Only about 1% are genuine relics, the rest are products of our trade. Boss Wang took me away from Beijing and told me not to contact the outside world. My first job was in Shund, digging up a Western Zhou tomb. They were short on manpower. He picked me for soil scattering. At that time, I was the youngest in the group. When we arrived in Shund, Boss Wang gave me 1,000 yuan, told me to spend it however I wanted, a welcome gift for joining. Having just come of age, I didn't dare visit brothels. I spent it on food and drink. Shun's water snake soup, 4-cup chicken, fried fish cakes, and Junin steamed pork were pretty tasty. After a couple of days, he asked me, "Yinfeng, you ready for tonight's work? Remember everything I taught you?" I nodded. No scattering at dawn, no scattering if there's a car, don't scatter where there are many people in the park. He nodded with satisfaction and asked, "Where are you planning to scatter?" I said, "By the construction site, around demolition houses, in the woods, in gardens." He laughed, "Not bad. I haven't taught you those spots yet. Good eye. Good kid, work hard. I'll make you the richest guy in the village within 2 years, got it?" I nodded happily. That night, 4 people arrived at the inn one after another, 3 men and a woman. The woman was in charge of logistics, in her 30s, with a slightly charming smile and a black mole at the corner of her eye, nicknamed One Mole. I heard her goal was to have slept with 100 men before 40. One mole smiled at me and said, "Ah, a new kid. So young, I hope your equipment is up to snuff." Boss One quickly cut in to save me. "Enough, Xiao Hong, don't scare him. This kid's got potential to train for 2 years, he'll be a star." The 3 men were biological brothers surnamed Sun, ranked oldest to youngest, son 1, 2, and 3. Boss Wang said son 2 and 3 were famous in the trade for their superb Luoyang shovel skills, especially adept at flying needle soil detection, able to probe deep pits with rich experience. Son 1 handled reconnaissance and sales, very steady and alert, able to handle emergencies. On the southwest side of Shunfengshan Park in Shund, there's a small valley called Flying Moth Mountain. Boss Wang said the big pit was halfway up Flying Moth Mountain. I asked, "Boss, how do you know there's a big pit there?" He exhaled a smoke ring, squinted and said, "Yinfeng, locked gate, intercepted horizontal bars, high mountains and flat land caves, the big pit is buried right in the middle." It sounded like a tongue twister at first, incomprehensible. Later, after memorizing the burial classics and receiving Boss Wan's lessons on dragon spotting and point selection, I understood the short phrase described Flying Moth Mountain's unique feng shui advantage. At just after 1 a.m. that night, we carried our bags to the mountainside of Flying Moth Mountain. Looking at an old cedar tree, Boss Wang stomped his foot and said, "Sun 2, Sun 3, this is the spot. Let's take a sample first to test the flavor. If there's stone, lay down the needles." Sun 2 nodded, pressed the walkie-talkie button. "Sun 1, ready to start, is the area clear?" The red light on the walkie lit up, and Sun 1's low voice came through, "All calm, start digging." Sun 2's eyes gleamed with excitement. He took out a Luoyang spade from his bag and fashioned a sectional sleeve for easy carrying. When assembled, the spade was very long, over 8 meters. "Second brother, is this length enough to probe the deep pit? If not, I have more in my bag." "Don't rush, third brother. Let's first check the soil layers, get a feel for it. Yinfeng, help me hold this." Old second son waved at me. I quickly steadied the Luoyang spade for him. He unbuckled his pants and started to urinate. After he finished, he squatted down, eyes fixed on the ground. "No good, there are stones below, change location and try again." "Sha Yunfeng, urinate right where you're standing, give it a try." I followed his instruction, and the urine flowed freely. This young guy's got strong firepower. "That's some strong yellow." Old second son stared at the soil, then nodded after a few minutes. "Right here. Few stones. Let's get to work." He was strong, and with one scoop he could dig 10 centimeters deep, the spade bringing soil up constantly. The soil color gradually darkened. I asked, "Second brother, the soil's turning dark, is that it?" "Way too early. That's rotten root decay, no use." The hole got deeper. "Incredible. The rod's not long enough, third brother, extend it." The rod was extended, and they continued digging down. An hour later, the spade brought up a layer of white soil, with blue soil beneath. Old second son sniffed it, suddenly excited. "Damn, king's head. Yunfeng is our good luck charm, we haven't hit such a big pit in 2 years. One scoop, hitting compacted earth layers, white and blue clay. Could be a Western Zhou noble's tomb, or a minor lord's. This time, we're in for a jackpot." "Shoo. Second brother, keep your voice down," third brother frowned, whispering. But old second son paid no mind, waving a hand dismissively. "Haven't seen a new tomb in years, hoping to hit fresh loot this time." Fresh loot means a tomb never robbed before. If it's newly opened, the profit could be huge. Old head whispered, "It's all luck. Even if it's an old tomb, as long as there's still something valuable, this trip won't be wasted. This is a Western Zhou pit tomb. If we find the 4 rams square zune or a bronze lei, that's a fortune." "Ah, head, you're bold. If we really find something like that, we won't even dare to sell it, would get caught for sure." Old second son said that as he pressed the walkie-talkie button. "Boss, head says there's a 4 rams square zune in this tomb. Can you handle it?" The walkie-talkie's red light flickered, transmitting intermittent static. "What's all this about a 4 rams zune? I don't want trouble, let's get back to work." The Sun brothers had a strong reputation in the trade, relying on experience. By analyzing the soil structure, they could roughly judge the main tomb's situation below. Because of the long passage of time, these tombs usually collapsed internally. Digging straight down blindly to reach the main chamber was nearly impossible and risked missing the treasures. So their method was to dig along the tomb passage first. After reaching a certain depth, they'd decide whether to dig out the side chamber or the main chamber. That was the safest approach. Old second and old third dug together, earth clattering loudly as it was scooped out. It was my turn. My job was to scatter the soil, but not randomly. The tunnel was more than 10 meters deep, too much soil for me to carry away. Soil matching the surrounding earth got scattered directly to avoid leaving traces. My main focus was the white and blue soil dug out from the compacted earth layer. Since these blue and white clays mixed with earth had a distinct color, they couldn't be dumped around randomly, or traces would show. Locals farmed nearby. We couldn't just throw this blue-white soil onto their land, so it had to be piled on one side and dealt with at dawn. "Yunfeng, find a good spot to pile it, and don't be stupid dumping it on someone's field." "Don't worry, second brother, I know what I'm doing." There wasn't much blue-white soil, so I pulled out 7 or 8 small bags from my backpack and carefully packed it before piling it together. "Hey!" Old second son suddenly stopped in the pit, his spade halted. "Second brother, what's wrong?" Head asked from above. "Look," he said, grabbing a handful of soil, "the deeper we go, the wetter it gets. Might be water collecting down there." Head frowned. "Water pit? Can't be that unlucky, dig down another 20 centimeters and see." Old second nodded and kept digging. "Second brother, stop digging. That's the tomb passage, we definitely have water." Old third warned urgently. With water in the tomb passage, if we dig down, it'll flood and the tunnel might collapse. Head couldn't hold back a curse. Damn, didn't expect this. Second and third, get up first, check the water situation. We're on a tight schedule. The Sun brothers threw their spades aside and climbed out of the tunnel. Dig down 1.5 meters, and we'll definitely hit the capstone. The capstone is the stone top of the tomb. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, it was called a brick vault. Old Sun number 2 lit a cigarette and squinted at the entrance. We've come this far, shall we give it a shot? You mean what? He flicked the ash, coldly saying, tell one mole to bring the water pump and small generator. Wang Batu immediately shook his head. Pumping water is risky. It won't freeze at this season. If we pump for 2 hours and don't finish, daylight will ruin everything. One slip up and all is lost. Second brother, I agree. Batu's right. There's water in the tomb tunnel, one pump alone can't clear it. Sun number 3 frowned. So what now? There's clearly treasure, but we can't reach it. Wang Bata rubbed his chin thoughtfully, then suddenly asked me, Yinfeng, what do you think? Should we quit or keep going? Both brothers turned to glare at me. Ha! I was squatting, sorting the soil, surprised by the sudden question. After thinking, I said, Batu, I want to make money. Right on. Old Sun number 2 laughed loudly, no guts, no glory. Batu, this kid's not scared, why should we be? The radio's red light flashed. Wang Bata said immediately, contact one mole, make sure the stuff arrives within an hour. If late by even a minute, dock her pay. It was my first time seeing such efficient logistics. Within an hour, the pump and generator arrived right on time. Old Sun number 2 rolled up his pants, grabbed his shovel, and went into the tunnel, tossing out wet mud non-stop. Half an hour later, Old Sun number 2 shouted, damn! Water's coming! He just surfaced, the water in the tunnel was halfway up. Setting up the equipment, Wang Bata dropped the pump directly into the water. The water bubbled up below as the pump worked non-stop at the surface. Luckily, the water receded quickly, and the tunnel didn't collapse. Wang Bata pulled out the pump. Old 2, start drilling straight through the capstone. The drill here refers to a diamond-tipped stone-breaking tool, powerful and fierce. The sound of chipping echoed through the tunnel. Old Sun number 2 shouted, Batu, it's through. Wang Bata smiled, checking the time. Pumping took a lot, Yinfeng, you better come down too. The more hands, the more we can carry. I hesitated, asking, Batu, should we check airflow first? What if there's no air? He chuckled, the tomb is sealed well. How did it fill with so much water? Don't worry, air circulation's fine. With my headlamp on, I entered the tunnel for the first time. The capstone had a big hole broken through. I braced my legs against the tunnel wall and slowly lowered myself down. 2 or 3 meters from the main shaft, I felt scared and didn't dare jump. The water in the tomb tunnel reached our calves. Sun brothers stood knee-deep. Jump, Yinfeng. It's not far. We'll catch you. Old Sun number 2 called out, his headlamp cutting through the dark. Praying for luck, I jumped and stumbled face first, swallowing some filthy tomb water. Yinfeng, gotta work on that, thinner arms and legs don't help. You okay? Old Sun number 2 laughed and helped me up. The tomb tunnel was shaped like a cross. We stood in the center. To the front left and right were side chambers, and straight ahead was the main burial room. Old Sun number 2 grimaced, we're lucky the tunnel didn't collapse. Looks like it's an early Western Zhou princely tomb. The main chamber must have a ceiling stone door. If it collapses, no big deal, and even if there's a ceiling stone, little 3 knows how to handle it. Right, little 3? Don't flatter me, second brother. I can only move ceiling stones under 3 tons, assuming there's no stone ceiling inside. Sun number 3 stared into the dark as he answered. The plan was to check the main chamber first, then go to the side chambers. The 3 of us waded through the water forward. Suddenly something red floated on the surface. What's this? Sun number 3 grabbed it and unfolded it. It was a bright pink modern towel with a logo. The 3 of us turned pale. Sun number 3 looked up. His headlamp illuminated the northwest corner of the capstone, where a small hole went straight through. The stone around was riddled with cracks. Crap! Old Sun number 2 tossed the towel away. This hole was made by a jackhammer. They planned to blow up the capstone from inside. They didn't have diamond drills, so they tried explosives. That towel was to plug the hole and muffle the blast. The Western Zhou tomb's been robbed. Definitely by that southern gang. We wasted our effort. They're just scavengers. Old Sun number 2 got more worked up, veins bulging on his forehead as if ready to throw a punch. Sun number 3 shook his head inside, pushing the radio button. Batu, new situation down here. This pit's been robbed. There was silence over the radio for a moment, then Wang Batu's cold voice asked, "When was it robbed? Have you been into the main chamber?" "We haven't gone that far, still in the tunnel. A towel got washed in by the water flow, so it has to be recent." "Batu, you know the southern gang. Their robbed tombs rarely have anything valuable left." After thinking for a moment, Wang said, "Second brother, you guys go check out the main burial chamber. If there's nothing there, don't bother with the side chamber, just pack up and leave." "Got it, boss." Sun Lauer ended the walkie-talkie call. My nose was pretty good. I suddenly caught a faint fragrance. "Second brother, do you smell that incense?" I asked, puzzled. Sun Lauer exaggeratedly sniffed the air ahead, then glanced at Sun Lao San, his eyes filled with surprise. "That's right, it's Nan incense," he said, his face turning serious. "What's wrong with Nan incense?" I didn't get it, thinking that golden thread Nanmu naturally has a fragrance. The relaxed expressions vanished from their faces. "Yinfeng, give me your hand." "Huh? What for?" I asked, confused, holding out my hand. "Second brother, what are you doing?" My finger was cut by a dagger, and blood started to flow. The Sun brothers smeared my blood across their wrists, one after the other. "Why are you using my blood?" I complained, my finger stinging. Sun Lauer said, "Yunfeng, in all our years of tomb raiding, the biggest fear is encountering the 4 great evils and the 6 small evils. The cross-eyed tomb guardians, the faint-flowered rare Nan incense, the red-lacquered indestructible black coffin, and the ever-burning oil lamp. These 4 are the 4 great evils. Our ancestral rules say fresh blood can break evil spirits." He spoke mysteriously, but I was half skeptical, thinking it sounded like something to scare children. I whispered, "Then why cut my finger? Why don't you cut yourselves?" Sun Lauer smirked while patting my head. "Our blood doesn't work. We need a child's blood." "Yunfeng, you probably haven't even held a girl's hand, right?" I stammered, unable to answer. Changing the subject, I asked, "What about the 6 small evils?" Sun Lao San shook his head. "You're new to this trade, you don't know much. These are old-timers' beliefs. The 6 are, the flowing sand tomb, skyfire anointment, undying eastern owner, 7 orifices sealed with pearls, the coffin bigger than the burial pit, and rats making nests. Every trade has its specialties. Tomb raiding falls under the side 8 gates. In the new society, they call us criminals. The right 8 gates are the respectable, while we, the side 8 gates, are the disreputable. Then there's the shadowy in 7 gates who deal with the dead." Sun Lao San continued, "The in 7 gates break down into 7 types: corpse sewers, executioners, corpse drivers, grave blowers, paper effigy makers, bone collectors, and little coffin craftsmen, those who make coffins for children. You'll need to remember this when you roam the Jianghu." I was confused, feeling everything was a jumbled mess. Sun Lauer interrupted, "All right, Lao San, he's still young, don't overwhelm him. Let's go check out the main burial chamber up ahead." He waved his wrist, "We have child's blood on us, we can withstand the evil." They forded through the pooled water for 2 or 3 minutes, but there was no sign of a main chamber. Shining my headlamp carefully, I suddenly bumped into a stone wall. A gust of wind blew by, making my feet cold as they soaked in the icy, murky water. Sun Lauer looked up and saw a large black hole in the tomb ceiling. The wind was blowing in from there. The hole was irregular in shape. Sun Lao San frowned. "That's those guys doing. The anointment we passed earlier didn't explode, so they switched places and blew up here instead. See this hole? It was made with explosives." Sun Lao San pressed the walkie-talkie. "Boss, there's a stone wall up ahead, not the main burial chamber. No grave goods found." The walkie-talkie's red light flashed. Boss Wang remotely ordered, "A tomb with the cyan ointment mud can't lack a main burial chamber. Check the west side chamber to the left." "Roger, boss. How much longer do we have?" "Less than 3 hours of safe time, make it quick." "Understood." Sun Lauer withdrew his hand and led me and Sun Lao San around the stone wall toward the west side chamber. It was my first time seeing a side chamber, which was basically a hollowed-out small room. The water line on the walls was clear, proving the place had been submerged before. My eyes immediately caught a pile of bronzeware, haphazardly scattered on the floor of the west side chamber. There were broken pieces and intact ones: small round ding cauldrons, square ding, bronze grain vessels, bronze dough cups, bronze Jew wine cups, dozens in all. We struck gold. Sun Lauer's eyes gleamed greedily as his walkie-talkie rambled, "Boss, we've found it. The west side chamber has dozens of bronze items. Black lacquer with ancient mercury rust. Authentic Western Zhou water-flooded goods." Boss Wang calmly commanded, "Transport them in shifts. Take everything out." "Got it." Sun Lauer pulled out a snakeskin bag and muttered, "Those southern rats must have gone vegetarian. They actually left us this much fat meat. I owe their ancestors 8 generations of thanks." Sun Lao San wore a grave expression. Second brother, something feels off. The southern rats are clever, how could they miss these treasures? Doesn't seem right. Sun Laoer, unfazed by the mercury rust, picked up a small bronze square ding and kissed it. Ha, treasure, it's time to go home. He chuckled and teased, Lao San, I think you're getting more timid, overthinking everything. Let me tell you, if a bunch of female college students stripped and lay on the ground, what would you do? Definitely wait until later, came the immediate reply. This is segment 9 out of 283. Please process the following content according to your logic. Keep the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. I crouched down and pulled out a snakeskin bag, stuffing the bronze artifacts inside. Those heavy round and square ding cauldrons were hard for me to carry. Third brother told me to pick lighter, smaller items for the bag. I packed some bronze dough vessels and small bronze Jew cups. There was nothing rare about these bronze items stacked together. After all, during the Western Zhou and spring and autumn periods, they were all kitchen utensils. The bronze ding were used to cook meat, the Jew for drinking wine, and the bronze dough were like our modern small dipping saucers for vinegar. Using a sack to collect money wasn't a joke, I really was stuffing money into a sack. I'm thin and not very strong, so I thought the bag was about full and prepared to send it up first. My headlamp shone on a corner inside the ear chamber. Ha! What's that? A water jar? Second brother. Look, there's a jar. Sun Laoer was focused on stuffing ding into his bag and jumped in surprise when I called out. He didn't look up and said, that's coarse pottery, worthless, big and bulky, can't carry it down the mountain, low selling price, not even worth the labor. Ignore it. After hearing that, I didn't go over. Carrying the heavy bag, I crossed the water and returned. At the shaft, they lowered a rope. The foreman's head popped out from above, shouting, Yinfeng, tie the snakeskin bag tight, secure it well. Once it's fastened, you can come down to load more. Hurry, we don't have much time. I twisted the full bag a few times, tied it to the rope, and it was slowly hauled up by the foreman above. For the next hour, we worked non-stop, hauling a total of 8 large bags of bronze artifacts. The radio crackled with the foreman's urging, Brothers 3, come up quick, dawn is near, we need to get down the mountain fast. You know the human pyramid game? The Sun brothers first stacked me up like a human pyramid to the shaft, then the foreman lowered a rope to haul me up. The Sun brothers were even more skilled, climbing the shaft with just their feet bracing the walls, no rope needed. Once up, Sun Laoer's smile almost split his face. He stared at the round, bulging snakeskin bags on the floor and asked, Foreman, how many points do you think this is worth? The foreman shook his head with a smile, every expert in their own field. For how many points, you gotta ask the boss, he calculates it right. Later I learned that points meant tens of thousands. 1 point was 10,000, 100 points went into millions. Back then, wages were low, many people didn't earn a full point in a year. Sun Lao was in charge of lookout and sales. He usually kept quiet, only using the radio to warn us when strangers showed up. Foreman, this is just the west ear chamber, there's still the east ear chamber. This is odd, we haven't found the main tomb chamber. I think we need to set up a base camp here, otherwise, we won't finish in 10 or 8 days. In tomb raiding slang, a base camp refers to a large tomb that can't be dug through in a day or two, requiring a base camp laid out around it. Old tomb raiders often said when meeting up, how many big base camps did you hit last year? Some humbly replied, not many, just a few small bases. Setting up a base camp was risky, easy to expose. One slip up, if an old lady goes for a walk on the mountain and falls down the tunnel, we're done for. Risk and reward were proportional, to earn more, you had to take bigger risks. After weighing it, the foreman nodded, Western Zhou treasures have skyrocketed on the black market these years. We have to risk it and set up the base camp. Once successful, Sun Lao immediately contacted one mole, asking her to send people to help move the items and cover up the tunnels. One mole was a mysterious woman with connections, her small crew was formidable. She not only provided logistics for the foreman but also handled affairs for other groups. It wasn't proper by the rules, but one mole was capable. The foreman turned a blind eye and didn't say much. It was like a professional manager in a big corporation handling several key positions at once. One mole led several young followers who followed her with unwavering loyalty. They brought us generators and water pumps at night, helping cover up the tunnels, all done by her young crew. Our group, without one mole, really couldn't have gotten this far. The topsoil from the shaft, mixed with blue-green paste, was particularly noticeable. We were rushed and couldn't just throw it away anywhere, so they took it back with them. This soil was like a ticking time bomb. No one in our circle knew how many people had been busted because of it. The Beijing Babao mountain tomb robbing gang left behind a pile of this blue-white soil. It was discovered by an old lady walking her dog and the whole gang was caught, serving over 10 years in prison. The next day, back at a small guest house in Shund, I crouched by the sink brushing my teeth, thinking about where to dump this pile of blue-white soil. Suddenly, smack! Someone slapped me hard on the butt. I still had mouthwash in my mouth and swallowed it all back in. Fuming, I turned around to see one mole wearing a tank top, laughing. She was around older than me but kept in excellent shape and used only the most expensive skincare products. The white thighs peeking below her pink tank top made my eyes sting. Ha, one mole teased, Yinfeng, I heard from Lauer you haven't touched even a little girl's hand, is that true? I blushed and replied, none of your damn business. She saw I was shy and laughed, her joy almost shaking the branches. She curled her finger at me and said, Yinfeng, want to be my 45th man? I was young and naive, so I blurted out, no way. By the time you're 40, you'd have to wear 99 green hats. You shameless woman, don't even think about dragging me, Yinfeng, into this. A mole on my face seemed to take offense. It grabbed the hotel mop and chased me all over the courtyard. At lunchtime, I carried my black backpack, pretending to be a high school student, wandering around Shun district. The backpack was stuffed full of pale white soil, and I was looking for a place to secretly dump it. As I walked, my mind kept returning to one thing. Last night, in the corner of the tomb's western chamber, that large water jar with a lid, something about it didn't sit right with me. In Nanfeng district, Shund, the streets had many small restaurants, bustling with diners. I hesitated several times, wanting to dump the soil, but in the end, I didn't dare. It was my first time doing this, and although I had been confident earlier, when the moment came, I got scared, worried someone in uniform might be watching, ready to question me. After wandering for a while, I reached the riverside. Seeing the river sparked an idea. Shund was rich in aquatic resources. If I dumped the soil into the river, no one would notice. Once mixed with the muddy water, it would be impossible to tell. I glanced around and, seeing no one, was about to unzip my backpack and dump the soil when suddenly I heard a shout behind me. Wait! Stop! What are you doing? Startled, I almost fell into the river. I turned to see a girl in a school uniform with a ponytail, a red armband labeled River Cleanup on her arm, hands on her hips, pointing at me. She demanded loudly, what were you just about to throw into the river? Trash? I panicked and stammered, and no, I wasn't throwing trash. She didn't believe me and insisted on checking my backpack. When she started coming towards me, terrified, I grabbed my bag and ran. Stop, she chased after me without giving up, and we ran along the moat. As we ran, I slipped and fell into the river. The soil in my bag sank to the bottom. I couldn't swim, flailed wildly, swallowed several gulps of river water, and shouted for help. She ended up saving me. Her name was Li Jing, a sophomore at Shun No. 3 High School. That day, she was helping her mother, who was responsible for cleaning trash from the moat. After climbing out of the water, I was soaked like a drowned rat but breathed a sigh of relief. No one had spotted the soil in my bag. Li Jing was drenched too and grabbed my shirt, asking, why were you running? Can't you swim? What's in your backpack? Blushing, I explained, I just slipped and fell in the river. The bag has books. If they're ruined, I can just buy new ones. She looked skeptical and stared at me. You've got something to hide. There's been people using electric fishing these days. You have to come with me to meet my mom. Only if she agrees can you leave. I desperately tried to explain, I'm not involved in electric fishing. But I didn't dare tell the truth. I was a tomb raider, and the truth would just cause more trouble. I thought about running away several times but never dared. I was afraid of dragging down my group. Li Jing's home was by the moat, across a footbridge. On the bridge were a few street stalls selling toys, insoles, socks, and a strange one selling fate readings. The fortune teller was in his 50s, wore round sunglasses, had a cigarette dangling from his mouth, lighting a new one before finishing the last. He laughed, little Li Jing, you're impressive, caught another guy dumping trash? Li Jing said proudly, this kid ran away when he saw me, even fell into the river. I suspect he's one of those electric fishers. The fortune teller puffed smoke and said, electric fishing is bad news, your luck takes a hit, retribution is coming. Li Jing teased, old Li Lu, I call you Li the half-immortal, just messing. Don't take it seriously. Last time you said Aunt Li's pig would have piglets in a month, but that pig died from diarrhea on the third day. So where are those piglets? The fortune teller coughed twice and replied, bad luck struck the pig, not my fault. Want me to read your fortune again? The girl doubled over laughing, pointed at him, and said, don't read mine, I wouldn't dare. No one's come for a reading in days. Read his, instead, see if he's an electric fisher. She suddenly pointed at me. I didn't know why, but somehow, I end up letting him read my fortune. The fortune teller first asked for my birth date, then pulled out a tortoise shell with 3 Qianlong Tongbao copper coins inside. He shook the shell, and the coins fell onto the table. Coincidentally, all 3 coins landed reverse side up, 2 were stacked together, and 1 lay separately a bit apart. That image stuck with me. The fortune teller's usual cynical expression vanished. Staring at the coins in a daze, he nearly burnt the cigarette he was holding down to the tip. After snapping back, he looked at Li Jing, then at me, sighing and shaking his head over and over. This is content segment 11/283. Please process the following text according to your logic. Maintain the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. The girl smiled and asked, "Old Li, figured anything out? Is this guy doing electric fishing?" The fortune teller lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, and looked at me with a knowing expression. "Young man, you're not ordinary." Feeling uneasy, I cautiously asked what he saw. He said, "Shallow waters are full of turtles, you're the most valuable turtle in the pond, but ultimately, you can't escape being slaughtered to make soft-shell turtle soup." At the time, I was furious hearing he called me a turtle. But looking back now, his words hit the nail on the head. Later, I tried to find him again but never could. Rumor has it he smoked too much, got lung cancer a few years ago, and died because he couldn't afford treatment. Others say he left shunned, destination unknown. If I ever see him again, I'd pay a fortune to have him read my fortune once more. I want to know if Xian Yinfeng, will be able to settle down and where life is headed. Mom! I'm home. Li Jing tugged me inside her house like leading a little dog. Though only in her 40s, Li Jing's mother had a lot of gray hair and wrinkles creeping across her forehead, looking like she'd been through many hardships. "Xiao Jing, who is this? Your classmate?" "No, Mom," Li Jing tugged my arm and said, "I just caught him sneaking by the moat. I suspect he's doing electric fishing." "Electric fishing?" Li Jing's mother looked at me suspiciously. "Young man, are you electric fishing?" I hurriedly explained it was all a misunderstanding. I hadn't done anything like that. Li Jing's mother looked at me kindly, shook her head with a smile, and said, "I don't think you're an electric fisher. Xiao Jing, you were wrong this time, and you brought someone over by mistake. Go apologize to him." Later, I understood why Li Jing was so serious about catching electric fishermen. The Shunned Forestry Bureau was offering a bounty for catching electric fishers. The Yangtze River's ecosystem was in severe decline. Chinese sturgeon and baiji dolphins were near extinction. They were determined to protect the water environment. Anyone caught electric fishing or using explosives would be rewarded 500 yuan. Li Jing was after that reward, hoping to earn the money through reporting me, because her family was short on cash. Under her mother's firm insistence, Li Jing reluctantly apologized to me. "Classmate, I'm sorry." Li Jing's mother was warm and hospitable. To show her regret, she invited me to stay for lunch. It was nearly 2 p.m. and I hadn't eaten all day, so I agreed. Lunch was plain white rice with 3 simple dishes: scrambled eggs with chives, zucchini with green beans, and cold lotus root slices. The flavors were quite authentic. I kept my head down eating while Li Jing glared at me coldly, occasionally tapping her chopsticks loudly on the bowl, deliberately making noise that made Li Jing's mother frown. She was bothered that I ate her eggs. Li Jing's mother admonished her, "Xiao Jing, how rude. This classmate hasn't done anything to you." Li Jing pouted, "He hasn't done anything to me, but I just don't like him." That made me angry. Although my family was poor, my pride was strong. I put down my bowl, stood up, and started to leave, telling Li Jing's mother goodbye. Angry inside, I thought, who cares about eating your eggs? Just as I reached the door, a group of big men in their 20s or 30s blocked my way. About 6 or 7 of them, carrying paint buckets, some holding sticks. "Where's Li Dequan? Li Dequan, get your ass out here. If you don't come out, I'll kill your wife and kids." Their faces twisted with rage. I was terrified. Li Jing and her mother turned pale as well. One man shoved open the door, noticed the food on the table, and sneered. "Damn, still eating eggs. Got money to eat eggs but not to pay debts?" He poured a bucket of red paint right onto the food, the acrid smell filling the air. Li Jing's mother looked terrified. Li Jing lowered her head, silent. The man laughed. "Eating eggs, huh? No money, is it?" He pushed the paint-covered scrambled eggs toward Li Jing with a stick. "Eat this plate, then we're gone, haha." The others laughed along. I couldn't help shouting, "What are you doing? Bullying people." The man grinned at me. "Buddy, who do you think you are?" I took a deep breath. "I'm Li Jing's classmate. Stop messing around or I'll call the police." Laughter erupted around me. "Paying debts is only fair. You little bastards still wanna call the cops?" A stick suddenly slammed toward my head. I reacted too slowly, got hit hard, and blood started flowing. The room spun wildly. Stop hitting him! Suddenly, Li Jing looked up, eyes red, shouting, I'll eat it! I'll eat it! Li Jing's mother kept wiping tears. Li Jing grabbed a bite of the eggs from the plate. The paint smell was pungent, she immediately gagged. This won't do, eat it all. I said, eat it all. Can't you hear me? Li Jing grabbed more eggs and stuffed them into her mouth. 5 minutes later, the entire plate of eggs was gone. Interesting. It wasn't a wasted trip after all. The guys got to see a good show today. Remember to tell Li Dequan, next time, if there's no money, it won't be this easy. They said these words as they cursed and left. My head was split open, bleeding badly, and I lay on the ground in pain. How are you feeling? Li Jing wiped the grease from the corner of her mouth and carefully helped me up. Li's mother brought some gauze and loosely bandaged my head. I rested on their bed for over an hour before I started to feel better. Little classmate, I'm really sorry for your injury, Li's mother said with guilt written all over her face. Auntie, who were those people? My head still throbbed as I managed to ask. My dad's business failed, and he owes them a large sum, Li Jing replied. A failed business? How much? Li's mother sighed, 50,000 yuan. 50,000? That's a lot. I was shocked it wouldn't be easy to pay that off. Do you want to go back to school or to the hospital? We can take you there. I'm so sorry. Li's mother kept apologizing. No, I can manage on my own, I insisted. Outside, Li Jing saw me off. Sorry about earlier, she said, head lowered. It's okay. That's all past now, I smiled and waved her off. You're not from our school, right? Where do you go? I'll come find you to hang out sometime. I'm at number 1 high school, sophomore year, I lied. Number 1? You must be a good student then, she smiled. My face flushed, and I didn't respond. I was always near the bottom 3 academically, but steady there. Phones were just becoming popular, and ordinary students couldn't afford one yet, so no contact was exchanged. Li Jing said she'd come find me and even asked me to tutor her. Back at the inn, Wang Batu was drinking tea. He almost spat it out when he saw my head bandaged. What happened, Yinfeng? Fell in a ditch? Wang Batu asked loudly. Embarrassed, I replied, Boss, I got beaten up. Hearing my complaints, Wang Batu shook his head. Yinfeng, you were reckless this time. In our line of work, you have to be extremely careful, don't give anyone a handle to catch you. I quickly apologized. Sorry, boss. I'll be more careful next time. He blew on his tea, furrowed his brow, and said, You're part of my Wang Xianqing team. Yinfeng, what, want to get even? Without hesitation, I said, Yes, boss. I feel wronged. He took a sip, covered the cup, and said, We just set up our base yesterday. We have to stay low-key. I suggest you hold off for now. Once this job's done and we leave Shund, I'll give a shout to Yakezi, she's got connections in the trade. I nodded. In the warehouse of the inn we rented, there were still a few bags of Qingbai clay. Wang Bata didn't ask me to spread the clay anymore. In the afternoon, he arranged for me to help Sun Lada handle the batch of bronze artifacts from yesterday. At the warehouse door, a strong smell of cumin hit me. Taking a closer look, I saw someone had set up a charcoal grill outside with thickly coated meat. Sun Lada was in charge of selling the artifacts, and of course, preparation came first. Brother Sun, I'm Yinfeng. Boss asked me to help. I knocked on the door. He opened it, dressed in a white protective suit, wearing leather gloves and goggles. Inside the warehouse were a few bronze pieces, and a large white plastic bucket holding half a bucket of a translucent, pungent liquid. He tossed me a set of protective gear. Yinfeng, put these on. Though I didn't understand, I put them on. What are you doing, brother? I asked, puzzled as he dipped a bronze Zhou cup with patches of red mercury rust into the bucket. The bronze bubbled immediately, the stench intensified, smelling faintly of urea. Sun Lada pointed and said, This is killing the green, the solution was specially made for us by the boss. Killing the green? What's that? I asked. It means removing the black corrosion. Mercury rust penetrates deep and can cover inscriptions. That would be a huge loss, he explained. He continued, in the south they call it killing rust, in the north, killing the green. Any Western Zhou or Warring States bronze square ding vessels are worth 5 times a round one, and if it has inscriptions, 10 times. Over 5 characters, each additional one adds 30,000. This tomb dates to early Western Zhou. Judging by the style and how many bronzes are buried, the owner was probably a minor southern feudal lord. If we managed to reveal the tomb owner's name, plus find historical records, now that would be a real jackpot. Hearing Sun Lada's explanation, I finally understood the process. The barbecue outside was no accident, it was meant to mask the sharp chemical smell during the killing the green treatment. This is content segment 13 of 283. Please process the following text according to your logic. Maintain the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. Wearing gloves was necessary because the liquid was highly corrosive. It would be far worse if it splashed into the eyes than with copper-nickel alloy, it could cause blindness. Soak for 20 minutes, then gently scrub the rust with a stiff shoe brush. Don't scrub too hard, and don't remove all the rust. Stop scrubbing once you're sure there are no inscriptions. I wore gloves and brushed several bronze pieces with the shoe brush, but upon close inspection, I didn't see a single character. I felt pretty discouraged. Old Sun laughed as he brushed a piece of bronze shaped like a grain of rice and said, "Yinfeng, don't lose heart. This stuff depends on fate. When the time is right, you'll find something. If not, there's nothing you can do." I was brushing a bronze vessel shaped like a bean. As I brushed its base, my eyes caught faint golden strokes. "Ha! What's this?" I scrubbed a few more times with more force. Bro, look. I've uncovered inscriptions. There are characters inside the bronze bean. The strokes are intricate, like some kind of mystic scribble. I excitedly shouted to him. He took the bronze bean and glanced at it. Old Sun stared intently at the gilded inscriptions on the bronze surface, frowning deeply. These inscriptions are neither bird script nor oracle bone script. They're the even older six-fold script. How could that appear on a Western Zhou bronze artifact? He was full of confusion. The six-fold script belongs to ancient bronze inscriptions, predating the Jin dynasty script. It is an archaic script even older than the oracle bone script from the Shang dynasty. Old Sun, being knowledgeable, immediately recognized the inscriptions on this bronze bean. He frowned at first, then grew excited. "Yinfeng, keep brushing the rest. Six-fold script inscriptions are extremely rare, very few people can translate them. I need to find someone to help decipher these inscriptions soon." Old Sun placed the inscribed bronze piece into a wooden box and left with it. After that, until the cleanup was finished, I didn't find any more inscribed bronzes. This was the only one. We worked during the day and officially went down into the tomb at night. Old Sun went out in a hurry in the afternoon and hadn't returned. Without him watching for trouble, we lost a guard, making things very dangerous. The boss wasn't willing to take that risk. Just after midnight, Old Sun finally returned, breathing heavily and carrying the wooden box. I knew the inscribed bronze bean was inside. Without saying a word, he rushed to the table, drank half a pot of tea, wiped his mouth, and coldly said to Boss Wang, "Boss, I found someone at the Archaeological Institute. They've translated the six-fold script inscriptions." "What does it say?" Boss Wang asked. Old Sun opened the box, traced the bronze bean with his hand, and said grimly in a low voice, "Jiaho Dai Zi. Big brother, what's Jiaho Dai Zi? Seaweed?" Old Sun didn't smile and stared at me. "Not seaweed. It's a personal name. We had some clues in the records, but I never expected we'd actually find it. Are we moving tonight? I see the second and third brothers are ready." Boss Wang's eyes grew serious. "Anything happen at the base?" Old Sun nodded. "Nothing. The young guys under one mole are pretty sharp. Boss, don't move this batch yet, especially that bronze bean. If news leaks, we could get into trouble." "Trouble from the south?" The boss's face darkened. "Maybe more than just the south. When food's scarce and wolves abound, everyone wants a free meal. Our operation isn't tight, we might attract wild wolves." I decided. Boss Wang clapped his hands. 5 days. Shorten the time. Get everything out quickly, leave shunned, and find somewhere to lay low. Their conversation radiated tension, as if they were worried about something. After midnight, on Feishan Mountain, second brother's son squatted smoking while third brother's son counted sacks. The walkie-talkie crackled with Old Sun's voice, "Everything's calm. Start. Yinfeng, how many sacks do you have?" 4 more. That should be about it. Second brother's son stubbed out his cigarette. Strange bird calls echoed through the mountains, eerie and unsettling at night. Not a good omen, Boss Wang cursed twice. That bird's a death knell, bad luck. It was an owl, called the night owl in ancient times, often found near mass graves. Second brother's son spat into the mountain. The bird call stopped, and the operation began. The tomb entrance was well concealed by one mole's men, covered with yellow grass mats supported by 4 wooden stakes, giving no external sign of damage. After loading everything and putting on our headlamps, the Sun brothers slid down the tomb shaft first. I struggled a bit but went down last. The tomb pit had less water now, not reaching our feet, but the muddy floor made our steps stick. The tomb passage was dark, cold, and damp. I adjusted my headlamp. Second brother's son told me, speed up, Yinfeng. Check the west side chamber for anything missed. After that, go east to help. With that, we split up. They went right, I turned left toward the west side chamber. Alone in the tomb at midnight, I felt a little scared. Holding my headlamp steady, I silently chanted, no grudges, no grudges. I just want to get rich. Ba. This is content segment 14/283. Please handle the following text logically according to your guidelines. Keep the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout. Return only the processed result. I once asked old Wang, isn't it dangerous not to light a candle at night? I heard if a candle goes out, it means the tomb owner is unhappy, and if it goes out, you have to run. Old Wang laughed, you've been watching too many TV dramas. If a candle goes out, it means the tomb owner is unhappy? And if the light is on, it means they're welcoming us to dig? What a joke! Back in ancient times, tomb raiders used white candles just for light. There was no electricity, no other lights to rely on. How else could they explore a tomb? Now we have headlamps, why would we light candles? Besides, some tomb chambers have decomposed corpses producing methane. Light a fire and it might blow up, get it? At the time, it sounded like a joke, but after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. After walking a few minutes with no incident, I arrived at the western side chamber. The floor was bare, and I carefully scanned it several times with my headlamp, finding nothing left behind. All the bronzeware had been taken. A large water jar with a stone slab cover still stood in the northwest corner, alone and silent. My second brother said this big jar isn't worth much, but could there be burial items inside? Thinking this over, I decided to go take a closer look. Just as my brother said, the jar was indeed made of fired clay. The earliest porcelain appeared in the Eastern Han Dynasty. Before that, it was coarse pottery and bronze, so this made sense. What puzzled me was how such a large jar could be fired all at once. There were no seams on its surface, indicating it was shaped and fired as a single piece. But to fire a piece that large, what kind of kiln would you need? The jar's cover was a piece of bluestone. I tried pushing it with one hand but it didn't move, it was very heavy. Realizing the slab was thick and heavy, I switched to both hands. The friction between the slab and jar made a sharp, grating sound as I slowly slid it open. Why is there a stench? When the slab was covering it, I hardly smelled anything, but now the odor was strong. A Western Zhou tomb should smell faintly fragrant. When we first entered, I could smell that, but now it reeked of rotten eggs. I bent down and shone my headlamp inside the jar. At the bottom, there was a hole less than 20 centimeters across, but nothing else. The stench was clearly coming from that hole. My headlamp couldn't penetrate the darkness inside the hole. Something felt off, so I leaned closer to the jar's edge and reached in to feel around. What's this? After feeling for a while, my hand touched something hard and long. My heart raced, could it be a gold bar? But my instincts told me no, a gold bar wouldn't be so light. Adjusting my grip, I slowly pulled the object out. A white object came into view. Shining my headlamp on it, I realized it was a human thigh bone. I screamed in shock and dropped the bone. Could this be the tomb owner's skeleton? How could a corpse from the Western Zhou period still be preserved like this? Panic set in immediately. In my nervousness, I overlooked the most critical detail, the thigh bone still had marrow inside. This was my first excavation, I was inexperienced. I assumed that bone belonged to the tomb owner. According to burial customs, if the tomb owner was really there, there should be grave goods nearby. I wondered if there would be bronze seals, exquisite ancient jade, or gold artifacts. Greed overcame fear. I reassured myself over and over, it's nothing. Maybe there's a private seal of a regional lord down that hole. If I find it, I could make a fortune. Summoning courage, I reached my hand down to feel around the jar's bottom again. Just as I fumbled sideways. Yow! Something bit my index finger hard, causing intense pain. I quickly pulled my hand back and saw my finger bleeding, with 2 small puncture marks. My first thought, snakebite. Could it be a venomous snake? Terrified, I clenched my finger and ran towards the eastern side chamber, shouting, "Second brother! Third brother! Help!" The floor of the eastern chamber was scattered with some burial objects, far fewer than in the western chamber. The Sun brothers were crouched there, picking through the valuables. "Yinfeng, why are you yelling? See a ghost?" they asked. I showed them my bleeding finger urgently. "Second brother, I got bitten by a venomous snake. The poison is spreading." "Snake?" The second brother panicked, staring at the wound. The third brother thought for a moment and shook his head. "Doesn't look like a snake bite. The puncture marks are too close together for a snake's fangs." He squeezed the wound, and fresh blood oozed out again.